Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? I'm waiting for Andrea to jump on, and I'm gonna text her right now and see where she's at. So let's get this thing rolling. Anyhow, you know, it's it's funny how many people. Well, it's not actually funny because it's confusing. What products do you take for this? What products do you take for that? And we're trying to help people have a better understanding of natural products. And if you do the searches, if you know where to do the searches, you can find a lot of information and read a lot of research. Um, you know, if you do Google searches, of course, you're going to come up with a you're going to come up with a lot of marketing and a lot of advertisements and things like that as well. Can you believe those? Well, some of it. You have to know how to sift through it, which is real, which is unreal, and uh, and so that's kind of what I try and do. That's what I try and tell people. I teach people. But think about it like this: is that when you're looking at those advertisements for the product, and they say, "Oh, we got this in there." Well, how much of this ingredient do you have in it? Um, one study that was done by the university, or well, actually, it was done at the Minneapolis Star Tribune a number of years ago. I want to say it was done 20 years ago. They took products for arthritis, MSM, glucosamine products, and they tested them. And they tested, I believe it was, 50, maybe more different products. And of the 50, only 48 came back with what was on the label. Think about that. So if you've got a product and they tell you this is what's on the label and it's not what's in the product, what's actually in the product? What's filling those little capsules? Well, it turns out that a lot of companies will use fillers, and fillers just take up space, so it makes it look like there's actually a product, and there really isn't. You know, Other times they'll put in stuff that isn't supposed to be there. You know, we've seen reports where they found the products tainted with different types of drugs, and we've seen the products where you know they just don't have what they say they should have. So how do you know? How do you know? Well, the FDA created a special category called Certified Good Manufacturing Practice um, Formulation and Manufacturing Facilities, CGMP rating, GMP rating. And I tend to go towards companies that have that rating because it's the FDA's way of regulating what's in a nutritional product. Um, you have to allow the nutritional company, or you have to allow the FDA to come in and inspect, and if you have your label on your product, they're going to make sure that what's on the label is actually in the product, nothing less. But I think equally important, nothing more, nothing more. Um, you know, you don't want heavy metals, you don't want toxins, you don't want ingredients that aren't supposed to be there, right? And so that's what the CGMP rating can help you guarantee. And so I look for that. That's one of the things. I have about a handful of companies that I buy products from. Sisel is my main company that I go to. And I'll tell you the reason why is because I don't like to buy individual ingredients. I take too many products to buy individual ingredients. I just don't have the time to go to my medicine cabinet, my natural medicine cabinet, and pull out this and that and this and that, little tinctures of everything. Um, The mowers are considered master formulators. Master formulators. They formulate, they put things together that work together, right? Like you take a look at our omega-3 product. It's got omega-3, it's got omega-6, it's got omega-5, it's got omega-7, it's got omega-9, plus it's got CoQ10, the real CoQ10, the real stuff, and I'm going to create that doubt. Go look it up. You know, there's real CoQ10, and then there's what I'm going to say is CoQ9, but ubiquinone and ubiquinol are two different forms of the CoQ10, and you want to have the one that really works. And it's the concentration of the ingredients as well. You want to have the product so that the ingredients are actually the extracts. I'll talk about another product we have. It's called TSX, Telomere Support Extreme. We've got an ingredient in there called a cycloestragonol. And cycloestragonol is an active ingredient that comes from a plant called astragalus. And to get that extract, basically, here's how Tom Maurer Sr. explained it to me about 10 years ago. And he said, look, if you get a room about the size of what I'm sitting in right now, and you fill it full of astragalus, just dried astragalus, and you want to get that active ingredient out of there, that room full of astragalus only contains about a bread loaf size amount of the actual active ingredient. Think about that. A room full size of bread sack. So if I've got a product that says we've got astragalus in there, we've got the whole plant, they'll go whole plant, and they'll try and convince you that the whole plant is better than the powerful extract. Well, they'll try and convince you of that. They can sell it to you a lot cheaper because they've got a room full that they're trying to get rid of. They're using that up. Where we've got a bread sack size. Now, how much does that cost for a kilo, the bread sack size? Well, about $70,000 for a kilo, for about 2.5 pounds. Think about that. So you don't need very much. You don't need very much, right? In our product, we're giving you 10 milligrams. 10 milligrams. That's a lot. Compare it to what I'm going to say is the next best product that contains cycloestragonol, without listing any names, because maybe they changed their formulation. But the next best product on the market has, in their most powerful formulation, they've got 10 milligrams, so half of what we have. But the most common product, the product that you see on the market, has 3 milligrams. And so we have over 6 times the amount. In addition, where they're not putting in anything else, we're adding things like resveratrol and curcumin. We've added another extract from the astragalus plant, and then we added 2 extracts from the bacopa plant. Because, again, we're a company that formulates. We have master formulators, and they figured out that these things all work together to make the product that much more effective, right? Isn't that what you want? You want a product that's going to be effective. And so that's you'll hear me talking a lot about that, and why we test our products, our raw ingredients. When the trucks bring in the raw ingredients, we test them. We want to make sure that there's no molds, there's no funguses growing in the product. We want to make sure that the raw ingredient isn't tainted in any way. But we also want to make sure that it is what it's supposed to be. And one of the other companies that I work with, they told me that one time they had a train boxcar load of raw ingredient that they were going to use in one of their products. And they're also a CGMP lab. And they turned it away. They said, no, we can't use that. And so they were going to destroy it. And the manufacturer, the supplier of the raw ingredients said, no, 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 don't do that. Don't do that. We'll hit it with a little radiation, with a little, um, radiation treatment, and we'll kill the mold, and then we'll sell it to somebody else. Tricky. How do you know? How do you know that your product doesn't have that? Well, that's what we have with Sisel. And so when people say, oh, you recommend Sisel because you make money with it, well, yeah, I make a commission of 7%. So it's not a huge commission. But I'm giving what I'm going to call free medical advice, or healthcare advice on how to stay healthy. And so I guess I got to pay for my time. I got to make a living somehow so that I can buy my coffee, right? So last Tuesday, Andrea and I spent the time talking about a lot of research on natural ingredients that have been tested to. I keep checking to see if Andrea's here, but she hasn't shown up. But I keep, we talked about natural ingredients that they've tested to treat this spike protein. And when I'm doing a when I'm doing a webinar where I'm showing you the research, one of the things that the FDA and other regulatory bodies has told us is that we can't use it as a sales gimmick. We can't say, here's what the research says, here's the product, right? So last Tuesday, a week ago, I spent about an hour talking about natural ingredients that you can use to boost the immune system and support the body's health during this crisis. And if you go back and watch that, and I recommend that you do go back on my YouTube channel and watch that, because it'll give you the research, the backing on what I'm going to talk about today. And then on Friday, I did a conference call. Friday night, I did a conference call, and I talked about what I considered to be the natural products, the what I think essential, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, and why? Why? Well, some people, they'll say to me, they say, well, 50 years ago, we didn't need that. My grandma didn't need that to stay healthy. She lived into her 80s. I know people that have lived to be 90, 100 years old. They didn't take that. That's true. But we live in a little bit different world today. Just from a couple years ago until now, how many additional chemicals have been introduced into our environment? How many different chemicals have been introduced just in the last year? Quite a few. And are they all safe? Um, you know, you have to decide that for yourself. Even though the regulatory bodies say this is safe, is that safe? There's a number of ingredients that have been grandfathered. And when you look at a lot of the studies, they'll study this ingredient alone, and they'll study that ingredient alone. I remember a number of years ago, and you can Google this. I don't have the study here in front of me, but I remember a number of years ago, um, there was a study on I think it was on, and I might have this backwards, but I believe that it was on um, lead. And so they determined that this is the safe amount of lead that you can be exposed to in your environment. Then they took and they had another study, and they said, here's the safe amount of mercury that you can have in your environment. And Neither one caused any major problems, and so that was a study, two separate studies. So then they took and they did a third study now, and in that third study, they combined the the legal limit of lead and the legal limit of mercury, and they tested that, and they tested it on lab rats, and where at the lethal dose that they allowed of each ingredient separately, when they were combined, it killed off 100% of the rats. So think about that. Separate studies, no problem. Combined, problem. So if you've got these chemicals that they're spraying on your trees and your grass, they're putting on your food, on vegetables that you buy, and there's residue on there, and you're getting that, you're eating it, it's in your water. What's the lethal dose? Is that causing some of the problems? So, um, you know, that's something to think about when we're talking about natural health, and skincare products contain a lot of different ingredients that normally wouldn't be allowed, but they're grandfathered in because they've been around for so long. Can you imagine the FDA having to go back and test thousands and thousands and thousands of different ingredients? But anyhow, that's those are some things that you want to consider when you're looking at these natural products, and that's some of the things that I look at, because you put it on your skin, and it's absorbed quickly, right? Some studies show that you spill some gasoline on your hand, and in less than a half a minute, you can measure the gasoline. It's already made it into your urine. Your body's already filtered it out, and it's already in the urine. And so that's that can be a problem. So I'm going to move on to what I really want to talk about. Last week we talked about, this spike protein, right? And you hear a lot about it. You hear more and more and more about it. I mean, prior to last year, had you ever heard of spike protein? Was spike protein? I mean, was that ever anything that you were concerned with? Did it concern your life? Well, it did, but you were unaware of it. You didn't pay much attention to it. And what about this cytokine storm? Had you ever heard the word cytokine? Right. So we're in a different world today than we were a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and we have to look at ways of how do we make it so that our immune system is strong, it's optimized. How do we support this, right? Because we can't say cure, you'll treat, prevent, anything like that. Natural products don't do that. What natural products do is they support your body's natural system of immunity. Good way of looking at it. So if you're looking at making a list of different products, and I'll write this down on the bottom of the video so that you have it as well. In my opinion, if you want to support your body's immune system in a way that you're going to control this spike protein as it gets into your body, I'm going to give you the list of what I consider to be the products that I take. I take them every single day, and I make sure that I recommend them to other people. And I can't say cure, treat, anything like that, prevent. All I can say is that it supports your natural system. And I've looked up a lot of research. I've got a lot of little post-it cards here that I took notes on when I'm writing. One of the main products, it comes from Sisel. It's called Influence. Influence, and it supports the immune system. I would recommend right now that we all take a double dose. And I'm going to go over the ingredients and I'm going to tell you why, right? I mean, if you do nothing else, if you take no other product, this would be a good one to take. It's got zinc. Zinc has been used for the immune system, supporting a healthy immune system for a long time. I remember when I first got out of chiropractic college, 35 years ago, I talked about using zinc and vitamin C, right, for the immune system. I'm sure you heard of that too during the cold season. Zinc lozenges, zinc vitamin C lozenges, they've been around for a long time. So we've got zinc in there, okay? We've got another ingredient called quercetin. And what that does is, there's a lot of studies on it. And what I just wrote notes from one study that I read. They took 8,000. This is from PubMed now. So this is a government published website on medical studies, and they took 8,000 different small molecules and they investigated, and they found that quercetin was one of 5 of the most potent compounds to potentially interrupt the infection process. So that came from Biochemical Pharmacology magazine. But so it's a medical journal, peer reviewed. It's not some fly by night National Enquirer type of thing. And where does quercetin come from? It comes from red onions. It comes from apples. It comes from other things. But you can't eat enough food to get this, in my opinion. Now, I use a lot of onions. I like onions, but so it's safe. It's safe. I mean, you're not going to consume, um, you just, yeah, it's safe to take. But that was a study that I found online, and I've read a bunch of other studies on it, and it's in our product. It's in Influence. It interrupts the infection process, right? So if you can interrupt the infection process, you can make a huge difference. We also have an ingredient called star anise, right? And anise. You probably got some in your spice cabinet. It kind of got a licorice taste to it. But it's got an ingredient called shikimic acid, Shikimic. Shikimic acid. What shikimic acid does is it's an antiviral, and it blocks the survival of the virus. That's how it works. It blocks the survival of this virus. Okay, we've got it in it, right? So I can't say that our product cures anything like that, but that's what they studies on this ingredient. Um, Influence has curcumin in it, and curcumin blocks uh, the viral spike protein from attaching. Good thing, right? Curcumin. You probably got that in your medicine, in your spice rack too. Turmeric, curcumin, right? And then the last ingredient is called elderberry. Elderberry, and so elderberry, what it does is it's antiviral. It breaks the lipid barrier. So think of a virus as being a uh, uh, like a tennis ball, and the viral particles are inside the tennis ball. Well, elderberry has ingredients that will tend to help break down that outside covering, the fuzzy covering on the tennis ball, so that your immune system can recognize it and destroy it. So let's look at some of the science on some of these things that the studies have shown that and they've used it for mainstream medicine. So it's gone mainstream. 2 of the ingredients that I see in a product that's used for the flu, right? For the flu, which is another a virus, coronavirus, and they use the same ingredient from the elderberry, and they use the same ingredient, the shikimic acid from the star anise, right? So how effective is this? Well, very effective if they're using it that way. So what I'm going to say is that, in my opinion, double dose. Take a dose in the morning, take a dose in the afternoon, and that'll help to support your body system so that you can control this spike protein. What other product do I recommend? Well, Sisel has another product called Body Shield. And what Body Shield has in it, it has an ingredient called fulvic acid. Fulvic acid is dirt, right? Uh, from compost, basically. Compost has been laying around for millions of years. It's from decomposed seaweed, decomposed seaweed. And what they find is that they've called it this fulvic acid, not folic acid, fulvic, Fulvic, fulvic acid. What they found that fulvic acid does is that it gets into the cell, it grabs the toxins, it pulls the toxins out, but at the same time, it's pulling the good stuff in, it's pulling the nutrition in. Don't you need that? So Body Shield has a good dose of that. Um, you know, if you're just getting started with it, I would also do a double dose of it just to kind of get started, or if the pandemic gets really bad in your area, stay on a double dose. And but right now, I'm just taking a single dose of that every single day. I take my 2 capsules in the morning. That's what's in Body Shield. Another product that I really like, it comes from Sisel. It's called fucoidan. And what fucoidan is, it's a natural extract that comes from brown seaweed, from the Limamui plant, and it comes from the South Pacific, so it's not it's a part of the region, an area of the world where it's not contaminated by nuclear waste, where some Limamui brown seaweed extracts, because it's coming from 20 feet down below the surface of the ocean. Um, some of these they use from up in the northern area of the ocean, and I mean, it's seaweed, it grows everywhere. And but just like we have a jet stream, we have a ocean stream that pulls toxins around, and so you don't want to have one that's tainted. So we get ours from down around the Tonga region, and I know that Sizzle Supernaturals buys um, millions of metric tons of this raw ingredient. It's one of our top selling products. But what does fucoidan do? Well, fucoidan it it helps to support a healthy immune system. It boosts immunity a lot. I don't remember the exact amount, but compared to other fucoidan products on the market, ours is patented, and the process that we extract it is actually patented. And then we also patented the way that we sulfonate the different molecules. There's 8 different molecules in the fucoidan plant. Only one of them is naturally sulfonated, and that sulfonation makes it active. And so all of these other products that are on the market use one active sulfonated um, particle. We use all 8. We've figured out how to sulfonate all 8 ingredients, all 8 of these fructose molecules, to make them so they're active and so that they work. And so our product is that much more powerful. We've concentrated it, so you can do a dose. It's just a little shot glass, just a little shot glass, and it tastes good. That was one thing that Tom said that he did, is he made sure that he mixed it with different berry juices, natural juices, to give it the right flavors so that people would consume it. Because what good is a product if you throw it in your fridge and you never consume it, right? So fucoidan. So those would be the 3 top products that I would recommend, right? Sizzle, Influence, Body Shield, and fucoidan, right? Up on top of the list, along with those 3 products, I would also throw in our Sencha green tea. Green tea and black tea, but green tea and black tea, they have ingredients. One of them is called EGCG. And EGCG is considered to be, um, based on a lot of the research I've read, it's a significant molecule for controlling this virus. And you can go look that up. Green tea extract EGCG. Um, there's another ingredient that's found in green tea and black tea, and it's called theoflavin. It's a flavonoid. Um, and so this is anti-tumor, antiviral. I'm just reading my notes that I jotted down. Um, and it helps control these different proteins that are found in the virus. So green tea, whether you buy Sencha green tea or you're drinking another green tea, don't go buy the stuff that's found in a bottle in your local supermarket or gas station. That's not the same. That's a sugared down, watered down um, drink. You might as well be drinking. Well, it's probably not as bad as drinking Coca-Cola, but almost. Well, I shouldn't list any names of products that I don't recommend, but anyhow, yeah. So green tea. Um, in addition to that, I think that you know most of us aren't getting enough vitamin D. Um, Summertime you get a little bit more because you're outside, but in the northern hemisphere where I'm at, we don't get enough vitamin D. I take 10,000 units a day. In the wintertime, I take double that. Vitamin C, I take an extra 3,000 milligrams per day, and I don't have those in. I mean, I've got doses, the RDA recommendation in our multivitamin. But I think in addition to that, you also need that, and then circulation. Because we hear that myocarditis is one of the side effects of this getting the vaccine. Um, so I like to take 4 Restore. I take it anyhow, but I particularly like it right now during this pandemic, and my reason why is because it's got L-arginine and L-citrulline, and they tend to roto-rooter the arteries open. L-arginine got the Nobel Prize a number of years ago because of their studies on that. It makes the arteries so they're soft and pliable. And again, I'm just prevention types of things, prevention type things. And then, another product that a lot of people that are involved with Sisel probably don't think about as a product that would be beneficial right now during these times is a product called Stemolytic. And Stemolytic has 8 active ingredients, and what it does is it gets rid of these zombie cells. And zombie cells are created when your stem cells have been worn out. They're not supposed to duplicate anymore, and your body's supposed to get rid of them. What happens is because of whatever, they stay in the body, and what they do is they damage the other neighboring cells. So think of it kind of like causing a riot. If you got a riot in your neighborhood, they don't just go out and cause trouble on their own. They want you to join in on their rioting. They want you to join in on the fun. And so what these zombie cells do um, is they tend to do that. Well, Stemolytic is a product that we came out with about a year and a half ago, and it has these senolytic agents in it that they kill off these cells, these senescent cells. And what these senescent cells are, again, is they're cells that damage other cells. Of course, you're going to get more prone to being sick when your cells are damaged, when they have damaged DNA. So I like to use that. It gets rid of those cells. Um, and then we have another product called the age pill. And the age pill boosts the hydrogen production. It supports a healthy cell, supports the SIRT1 genes, which help with DNA. And we're all familiar that this vaccine and this virus, mRNA, you've heard a lot about that recently. So again, whether you're vaccinated or you're not vaccinated, your choice. Whether you've had the disease or you haven't had the disease, whether you got over it or you continue to have symptoms, the long haulers, right? These are things that I would recommend. So, anyhow, folks, thanks for joining us today. Have a great day and enjoy your 4th of July. Be careful. Don't over celebrate. Bye bye.